Hello, I am back with another unscripted video with minimal editing, talking about the Hunter x Hunter Succession War, specifically about the princes. So we're just gonna go up from where I left off from last time, which was I went through Benjamin, Camilla, Zhang so now we're gonna do Tsaradnik next. Although I do want to touch on some stuff that I think I missed in my earlier video. So first of all, the name means, I think, hold on, son of the right hand. Let me just double check. Okay, so yes, Benjamin means son of the right hand, and if we actually look at when we first see his Hatsu, Benjamin Baton, the stars appear on his right hand. Now, does this mean the stars could only appear on his right hand? Um, we still don't know. We don't know much about the ability. Although it would be funny if it appeared on both hands, just because if it counted up to 10, and you could call him Ben 10, it'd be funny. Another thing I forgot to mention in regards to Camilla's the name beast of her own Hatsu is a cat, and contemporarily cats tend to be associated more with femininity and dogs masculinity. I'm not saying that should be the case, or that's like an objective like analysis of how the world works. It's just that in a lot of current modern culture, cats tend to have like be like portrayed as more feminine or more mostly associated with femininity. You can even think about, like, for example, cats when they're associated with witches, and witches are usually thought of as like women practicing witchcraft and stuff. So you could, especially with Camilla's like whole faction having like a whole curse deal, you could see maybe like a bit of a witch theme with there. Let's see. The cat could also portray some sort of like untouchability in the sense in her Camilla's stats is a prince and the legal protection it gives them, so you just can't kill them without repercussion, and how like basically you're to die for the sake of Camilla or die for the Empire, and to attack her is basically like an attack on your own life, I suppose. And she complains about having to do work and that stuff isn't just done for her, which could allude to a potentially what her Nembeast might do, because we know it is a manipulator. So it would be kind of funny if the Nembeast helped do things for her, but she just doesn't want to use it because she's more intent on using her cat Hatsu to come back to life over and over. Um, with that out of the way, we can finally talk about Tsaradnik, who is definitely one of the more talked about princes, or one of the more popular ones. Um, I don't know what his name. So I've been looking at the names, as you can tell. Like, for example, I went like Zhang Li was like palm leaf, and I was talking about how they could maybe reference the prince's place in the family or the story. Tsaradnik, I can't really find anything. So why I can't find anything? It's okay. This is a problem with analyzing Japanese media. Sometimes it's like translations things. So it could just be that I'm looking at the wrong translations for the name. Not that not like objectively wrong, but sometimes there are multiple ways to translate things, especially when it comes to, like, for example, L's and R's. In Japanese, there is no like character that represents like an L sound. So sometimes it's like translated into an R sound, and so this can mean that it creates like a game of telephone sometimes, where like you're translating a character's name from like English to Japanese back to English, and it keeps changing each time because there's different ways to translate it. They're all equally valid. So it's like, I don't know. Like, let's say you have a name like Layla. You translate it to Japanese, maybe it looks like Reira, and then maybe you translate it again back to English. Now you can translate it as Reira, Rayla, or Leira, and that can throw off like trying to interpret what names mean, because those could all be technically speaking correct translations, even though they don't they might have different implications. The same thing, like if you look at, for example, Fate, like you have Artoria, but you could translate that as like Altrea. Altrea is a valid translation, but you can also translate it as like, I don't know, like Alutoria or Artolia or something like that. So, but then again, this could also just be an obscure name. Tsaradnik could just, so it could. What I'm saying is it could be like Saladnik or something, or some other word that I can't recognize because of how it's translated to Japanese. But it could also just be an obscure European name I'm unaware of. So first things first, though, Saradnik is the fourth prince of the Kakin Empire, and this already tells us a bit about him because he is repeatedly described as the most dangerous prince. And it's a common, like, it's well known that like four, especially like in like Japanese culture and certain Asian culture, is commonly associated with bad luck. And the reason for that is one of the ways you can pronounce four is she, which sounds like the word for death. So Tsaradnik is the fourth prince, aka Prince of Death, aka massive serial killer who skins people alive and collects body parts. Um, you can also relate to his Nen ability, because his Nen ability allows him to see in the future, and one of the first things he sees with his Nen ability is his own death. It's Theta killing him. So it could also be foreshadowing to stuff like that. He might be witnessing his own death, etc., etc. So let's look at his Okay, so he does have he has two Nen beasts. One of his it's kind of like Camilla, where one Nen beast is like his own Hatsu, and another Nen beast is from the Succession War itself. So let's look at his Hatsu and stuff. So first of all, we have Parallel Future, which is a specialization ability. So, like I said previously, specialization does have to seem to have some reoccurring themes. For example, clairvoyance, being able to see in the future, those often seem to be specialist abilities, along with being able to like steal or copy powers. All seem to be specialists, so it makes sense. Parallel Futures is a specialist ability. So let's just read the wiki here. When Saradnik closes his eyes and activates Zetsu, he receives a vision, which he refers to as precognition or dream, of the following 10 seconds. The vision is instantaneous. No time passes in the present between its beginning and its end, which are signaled by a sound and a visual pattern akin to static on television. If, after those first ephemeral 10 seconds, he does not open his eyes or resend his Hatsu, time outside of his premonition resumes moving as normal, but he continues to see 10 seconds into the future. The time in the vision and the real world unfolding in parallel, but the one in the premonition running 10 seconds fast. In this state, Saradnik can see and hear what passes in his vision while at the same time perceiving what occurs outside of it, and recovers his ability to move. Okay, so once you actually see the ability in action, it actually makes a lot of sense, but just reading out, it just sounds like a lot of word salad. It's kind of hard to explain. So basically, he goes into Zetsu, right? And he can see 10 seconds to the future. And then after 10 seconds have passed, it's okay. This is like really hard to explain. So the first 10 seconds are basically a freebie, right? He can see 10 seconds to the future, and then time is not passing in real time. It's like dream logic where time is moving slower, is in moving different for him in his like mind than it is in the outside world. So he sees the first 10 seconds. For the first 10 seconds ability activates, those are free. Like no time passes. Yeah, that has been like a single instant. I see the next 10 seconds within a single instant. But then once 10 seconds passes, time begins to move outside again, and it moves in parallel. So he's seeing 10 seconds in the future, but stuff is actually happening around him. And because of that, he has to be careful, right? Because he has to be careful because he's seeing into the future, but stuff is also happening in the present. So, for example, with Theta, what happens, he saw 10 seconds in the future, and that happened in the first instant, so he could respond to her shooting the gun. But if he just sat there for too long, what could have ended up happening is she could have just potentially shot him because he was stuck looking 10 seconds in the future, and then time resumed to flowing. There's a handy little chart that's given to us to help explain what's happening. I might include it, but if we keep reading the wiki, after Saradnik resends precognition part of the ability, a subsequent stage of the ability begins, and everyone who was shown the vision, except Saradnik itself, will perceive the next 10 seconds unfold exactly as he predicted, even if Saradnik used his foreknowledge to change this course of action. It is not uncertain if this ability is currently uncertain if this ability is connected to the Nen beast the prince manifested previously. Although Vision's point of view corresponds to one of the beast's position. It is also unknown if the ability can also affect individuals who are not shown in the prediction. The precognition similarities with Neon Nostrade's power just it falls in the specialization category, which I thought it was stated if it fell in the specialization category. I mean, Morena confirms that specialists can use stuff outside the category sometimes, but I mean, I think it's safe to assume it's probably specialist. The wiki does also mention the other Nen beasts we saw. I believe how it explains how the other Nen beast works is basically, I think it might appear during Zetsu. Like, okay, so normally when you use Zetsu, cuts off like your Hatsu, right? Because your Nen is being cut off. But how Theta explains it is what might be happening is that either the beast or the parallel future Hatsu is that Saradnik is such a Nen god with so much raw aura that basically either the Hatsu and or the Nen beast, it builds up Nen over time while he's not in Zetsu, kind of like a battery. So when he does enter Zetsu, it has the ability, it has Nen reserves in which to activate from. So then we have his I don't know if they have a picture of his other Nen beast. Hold on, let me see if I can find it. I'd rather do this in order. I mean, we're not gonna be a good look at it. It looks kind of staticky. It's just like a bunch of like weird shit. I don't really know what it looks like. I guess it looks kind of like skeletal, maybe, and withery. Let's see. So we have the Succession War Nen beast, which is, let's see, it looks like a horse with a long neck with a woman's face at the end, and it has high heels on its back legs. I think it has boobs hanging down from under it for some reason. And when it opens its mouth, it has like two eyes that look kind of like slug eyes, like on proboscis, coming out of another. There's like another woman's face in there. I mean, it's a hell of a sight. But Saradnik's guardian then beast is a horse-like creature with the head of a woman, slightly taller than Saradnik, when measured from foot to back. Though it postures itself like a horse, the hooves on its hindquarters are stilettos, and its front quarters resemble arms that end in hands with long fingers and sharp painted fingernails. It has the features of a curvaceous woman, a large bottom and large breasts with spikes for nipples. It has a flail for a tail, complete with a handle. The number of tails it has varies between appearances. It has been seen with 4, 6, and 9 fronds. The guardian spirit beast has a long extendable neck. The limits are unknown, but it has been seen extending up to approximately 4 meters long. Like a horse's neck, its neck is naturally flexible and does not need to remain in a straight line. At the end of its neck is the head of a beautiful woman with large eyes, a rounded nose, and a full lips. Noticeably, the guardian spirit beast has long, sharp, pointed ears like a jackal or a rabbit. The guardian spirit beast's mane is long and flowing, and the same light color as the hair on its head. In particular, the hair on its head obscures the area where a normal person's ears would be. Where 3 pairs of eyes hide, though its face can make its facial expressions. So it has eyes in the place of ears. Look at things and drool. These eyes could be considered to be part of its true face. Near its eyes is a hinge which allows the woman's face to open at the mouth to reveal a set of sharp serrated teeth in another woman's head, where its tongue would normally be. This woman has dark hair and more painted expression. It stitches on its cheek to keep its mouth intact, and 2 thick fleshy tendons extend from its mouth. These tendrils have a small mouth at the end, which can be used to scratch people. Radix Guardian Spirit Beast's type and ability have not been fully revealed, though some of its abilities' effects have been seen. Whenever Radix asks a person a question, his Guardian Spirit Beast brings its face close to the person Radix is asking and judges the response. If it judges that they tell the truth, the Guardian Spirit Beast backs away. But if it determines the person is lying, it marks them with a cut. The cut worsens into a moderately large infection-like wound. If the person lies to Radix a second time, Radix's Guardian Spirit Beast is capable of speech. It gives people who lie a second time a verbal warning to not lie further, lest they be turned into something inhuman. It is not yet known what happens if a person lies to Radix a third time. Neither are any limitations on who can be asked questions. Okay, I would assume there is one limitation on who can ask questions because we know the Nembis cannot attack other princes directly. So I assume it could not mark like Camilla or Benjamin or any of the other princes because they can't attack each other directly. Sokolov conjectures that it gives traders further chances to turn them into a pawn for Tsaradnik. That is the only person known to be marked by Tsaradnik's beasts thus far. And like in many, possibly all the other Guardian Spirit beasts, Tsaradnik's Guardian Spirit beast can phase through walls. On the first night of the voyage, it extends its head into the air ducts and forcibly deactivates Oido's use of Little Eye to control a cockroach. It's unclear if the cockroach was eaten or something else was done to deactivate the ability. Like Momozoe's Guardian Spirit, it fades away when Tsaradnik does not provide its aura, such as when he's in Zetsu. But Tsaradnik's tremendous amounts of aura mean that the beast emerges instantly if he relaxes Zetsu. We also see that it takes a moment to disappear because it has so much aura to go off of. Like it doesn't just immediately vanish the moment he enters Zetsu. Like it lingers around for a bit. So as I mentioned earlier, Tsaradnik's pretty like one of the most ominous princes. Theta sees this guy on sight and is like, this guy's got to fucking die. But also, he's also clearly one of the most obviously sexist princes. Most obviously sexist princes. We see him the first time we see him, he murders 2 women. I don't think this is a majority, but I've seen weird people weirdly try to defend like his murder of the 2 women in chapter 3, 4, 5. I'm probably gonna end up showing the panels, but we see them. We cut to like a city. There's a dancing club. There's 2 women dancing. Tsaradnik trying to takes them over to his property, and then he presumably murders them because he's covered in their blood, and I think he has like their skin tattooed or something. But I don't know why people are trusting Tsaradnik's perception of the events of what's happening because he's clearly super sexist and a murderer. And so let's see what he says on this page. He says, "Hey Mark, what the hell was up with those girls? The only things they had in their heads were fashion and fucking. They didn't know shit about anything like Higgs S, Ips, Syria A, Liga Española, Kant Hegel, Stocks, Fencher, Goldbach, Janek, or Krokal. So the thing is, I don't know who any of those fucking people are either. And honestly, if you ran around the street just asking people if they knew any of those people, I'm sure a lot of people would tell you like, I don't, depending on where you are, would tell you I don't know who those people are. So we know nothing about these women. We know nothing about their education background. Strategy is making a weird assumption that they're like trash because they don't know like his fucking obscure like art facts. It's like, oh, you don't know who Leon the dick sucker is? Oh, what? You deserve to fucking die. Second of all, he's a prince with a ton of money, so he can probably afford the best education. So there's a chance that those women weren't even afforded the opportunity to get such an education. Second of all, he's the fucking prince of an empire, And if he invites you to his house, no matter what gender you are, you might be afraid of to say no because it's like, oh, if I say no, he's gonna take it as a slight, and this guy's like the prince, and what he says goes, basically, right? So there's like a bunch of things happening there that paint Saradnik as an unreliable narrator and also just like an asshole. Like he wants to separate I think his goal. He says once he becomes king, he wants to separate like the trash from the treasure, which again ties into like his theme of death. He she fourth prince of death, and additionally it's also his sexism is so crazy that it's actually reflected in his Nen Beast too. His Nen Beast is literally just a woman merged with an animal, which shows that he sees women as animals. He doesn't see them as people. He dehumanizes them. And the only person we've seen the Nen Beast attack so far has actually been Theta, and Theta is a woman. And I think Saradnik goes out of his way to say he at first he said he hated manipulative women, but I think he said now he says he finds them kind of cute. But the fact that it only attacked Theta so far could be reflective of like maybe a predator is attacking. Also attacked Oito's when she was using was it Little Eye? Is that what it's called? When she possessed the cockroach? Yes. So even though technically it was Kurapika who stole the ability, Kurapika then handed it over to Oito, and Oito was using it. So notably, when the Nen Beast attacks the cockroach, it was actually a woman's. It was technically, as far as like the rules go, it was Oito's ability being loaned from Kurapika, who stole it from somebody else. So the two times we see the Nen Beast attack, notably it attacks women, or the techniques that a woman is using, which could be indicative of more sexism present in Saradnik and is like dehumanization of women. And it's also obviously that the beast is like sexualized in a weird way, because as I was reading the description, you'll notice it had like descriptions of like, for example, it had breasts and a nice bosom, or whatever, not nice bosom, a big bosom. And so you obviously have the theme of not only is this woman being dehumanized and reduced to an animal, but she's also being reduced to her individual body parts. Most often the parts that we associate with sexuality are being pretty, specifically quote unquote pretty face, big boobs, and a big butt. Also, stiletto heels emphasize the back legs. Another thing, another like warning sign for Teratic is when he did the water divination test. He let's see, I think it caused the water to it caused the leaf to, well, let me double check. It caused the leaf to decay and the water to like go rancid. Let me just double check what it did. Okay, so the wiki says that the leaf withers away and the water begins to boil and release a putrid smell. So that's pretty ominous, because first of all, the leaf is it's no longer attached to a tree, but it is a living thing. So it begins to die, and the water begins to boil and become putrid, which would presumably make it poisonous or unpalatable to like someone if they were to try to drink it or touch the water. So that also displays, Saradnik's sinister nature, which Theta makes mention of. So the fact that when he takes the test, it kills the living thing in it, causes the water to boil, which would kill most things in the water, and then makes a putrid smell, implying like rot, etc. So it kind of shows Saradnik's disregard for life and his willingness to like kill, especially to kill, etc., etc. Is there anything else I can say about Saradnik? I mean, I guess his ability, his Hatsu Parallel Future is interesting, because I would expect his Hatsu, I guess, to be more violent and like murdery, but it seems like it's seen to the future, which could relate to his goal of separating the trash from the treasure when he becomes king, where he can see into the future, see if they're worth keeping around, or see what the action will be. And he's like, if he doesn't like what you do, he's like, all right, you're trash, and throws you away, or like, all right, you're pretty cool. I saw what you were gonna do in the future. And I guess it also allows him to kind of observe, because the future he sees is kind of like set in stone, so people will keep acting out the future even if stuff is changing. So like Theta shoots Saradnik, and even though he moved out of the way, from Theta's perspective, Saradnik was still there, and she still killed him. That's what was supposed to happen. But Saradnik's ability allowed him to move out of the way. I guess in a way, his ability's kind of like King Crimson, actually, where like you can see a couple seconds in the future. Oh, he doesn't skip though, but you can see a couple of seconds in the future, and then you can change it potentially. Although I think King Crimson, how that works, it's a loophole, because it can see the future and then it can skip the parts of the future it doesn't like, because it has a second ability. But oh yeah, one thing I forgot to mention is that Saradnik's Nen Beast is described as turning targets who lie to him into something inhuman. If we see it specifically with Theta, as like she's growing like a scale, like scales on her face, and this is just like a literal manifestation of how he basically dehumanizes people, especially women who lie to them. He doesn't see them as human, so he turns them into something that is inhuman. He turns them into how he sees them, basically. think it's all I have for Sporadic for now. I mean, like last time, if I think of anything later, I'll just come back and I'll come back and probably mention it in the next video because I doubt I'm gonna get through all the kings. It's probably gonna take me like 5 videos to get through all the princes because there's just a lot of them. So then we have Tubepa, the fifth prince. I'm gonna see. Hold on. Let's see if I can find anything on her name real quick. Okay. Once again, like with Sporadic, I'm having trouble finding any like good like explanations about the meaning of Tubepa's name. It could be because it's an obscure European name. It could be an obscure Japanese name. Um, it could be just like a weird translation thing. Like I had to figure out the translation. So Tubepa's interesting, I guess, because she, like where Camilla's clearly hyper feminine. Tubepa's wearing a suit and definitely has like a more stereotypically masculine presentation. She has like a tie and a suit, and she comes off as either more masculine or gender nonconforming. Um, she definitely seems like one of the more reasonable princes up there with like Zhang Lei. At least more thoughtful. Like she won't like immediately take offense to like if you don't immediately like give her exactly what she wants. She's not gonna like blow a gasket. Um, she is notably a scientist. And she seems to be good at math. She doesn't have a Hatsu, and we don't know her ability. So okay, her Nen Beast, it looks like a frog. So okay, it is confirmed to be a transmuter with a collaborative type ability that requires a partner. It can synthesize various drugs and chemicals with all sorts of effects within its body, possibly due to taking after its host nature. This guardian spirit beast was said to be extremely cautious, to the point of not appearing at all in the presence of Benjamin's shoulders. So this is kind of interesting because we already have a connection to Tubepa's scientific background, where the frog can be used to synthesize different types of drugs and chemicals with different effects. It is a transmuter, which is interesting because transmutation is all about being able to change the properties of your aura, and you could argue that science is like being able to chemically change something. Like there's chemical change like in science. Like I can chemically change something. I can mix something and it will change chemically into something else or give it different properties. I think it's interesting that it requires a partner to use. Well, despite one being very shy. It does seem like Tubepa does trust some of her soldiers like a lot, or they seem very loyal to her. Like, hold on. Like if we see how she treats Mayor and and how Longi is it Longi and how Rongi reacts. Because Rongi seems pretty loyal to her because when she pulls out Moonlight Act, she does explain like Longi does seem pretty honest. Like I mean, not like honest like she runs up and goes like, "Oh, this is what I want to do," but she like her Hatsu is very straightforward. It seems very fair. It's not like some genie wish shit where it's just like, "Oh, well, you see, you promised we promised we wouldn't attack you, but if you slip on a banana peel that some other guy left, we don't have to save you," kind of thing. Her Moonlight Act seems like very honest and straightforward. She seems very intent on keeping the truce between Wobble and Tubepa. So she does seem to have Tubepa's best interest in mind, and she also wants to find which prince is the son of Beyond and kill them. I don't know if she 100% knows it's not Tubepa. I don't think Tubepa's the son of Beyond. I mean, maybe. I mean, I guess it could be anybody, but like I feel like the son of Beyond is gonna. I mean, first of all, from a in universe, you feel like the son of Beyond would probably be really powerful. Probably knows what Nen is because it seems like Beyond was awakening each of his children at birth. So the most obvious, right now, the most obvious contenders would be Camilla, Benjamin, or Saradnik. But that also seems like too obvious to me. I think the most like narratively interesting thing would probably be it's the Princess Wobble, and then that could lead Kurapika into a conflict where people want to kill Wobble because Wobble's the son of Beyond. But I don't know if that makes sense on the timeline because I don't know if Wobble could be Beyond's son. Another possible like obvious answer would probably be like Hulkenberg. Hulkenberg seems pretty good with Nen. Seems pretty powerful. I also forgot to mention the significance of the number of princes, by the way. So there are four. I think the princes are kind of a weird, like, okay, this isn't the first time Togashi's referenced like Christianity, but I think they're a weird Jesus allegory with one of the princes being Jesus, and then there's being 12 apostles, quote unquote apostles, and one traitor. Because if you count Jesus, including the apostles, there would be 14 people, right? It'd be Jesus, the traitor, and then 12 apostles, and then so then likewise with the princes, it's Jesus, um, 12 quote unquote loyal princes, i.e., they are born of the king, and then one traitor in that it's like a bastard child born of beyond, who's sent basically to infiltrate or to usurp the throne. Um, oh yeah, so Tubepa's other member, Mayor. So right after Kurpika made the emergency announcement revealing about the Guardian's spirit beast, Tubepa orders Mayor to get as much information about Nen and Kurpika immediately. So and then Tubepa seems to trust Mayor a lot. Not only does she send him out, but also she asks like, so what do you think about the Nen stuff? And he's like, oh yeah, that stuff, that's some real shit. So she's like, all right, well, we'll send more people to learn more Nen. So we see that Tubepa seems to act through her like servants a lot in a very particular way where she sends them out and she doesn't necessarily go out often herself. She's usually sitting there like strategizing, or doing math or whatever it is she does. And that's why I assume the frog's cooperative ability might represent like she needs to have like trust or something, or the Nembeast, you need to earn the Nembeast's trust, and then once that happens, you can make concoctions with it. Now, what those concoctions could do, I don't know. It could be one of those things where it's like endless possibilities depending on what you put into it. But it would be interesting if like maybe the concoction can give you like a temporary Hatsu, or it can like awaken your Nen. Who knows? It's one of those things where it's one of those characters that there isn't a lot to go off. I do hope we see it before she dies or something, because I would be a little bit disappointed if we never got an explanation for what it does. This video is going a bit long, but I will cover one more prince just for the sake of like tidiness and order, because I covered 3 princes last time. So next we have Prince Tyson. So let's see. According to the Bump on Google, Tyson is a masculine name of French origin derived from the word Tyson, meaning firebrand. This lively appellation is a perfect fit for a vibrant and energetic baby. Also considered a form of Dyson, Tyson shares roots with this and Dennis, also linked to Dionysus, the Greek god of wine and pleasure. This is a very obvious connection because Tyson has like a weird cult thing going on, and also the cult, it seems to make you happier. Her ability seems to make you happier and happier the more you follow her readings, and like more loyal. So you could see this as like, the same way that you might get like drunk and happy on like Dionysus with the god of wine and pleasure. You get quote unquote drunk and happy with Tyson's Nen ability. I mean, not her Nen ability. It's her Nen beast, and its connection to high spirit and high energy also makes sense for Tyson's demeanor. She's constantly happy. She kind of like tries to keep herself happy. You can tell because she's like playing in a way. She's kind of playing pretend like, oh, you're like this isn't just like my bodyguard. He's like a cool loner anime boy, and this is an alien who fell in love with me. So there definitely is like a connection to like high spirits. She also wears like a lot of love themed stuff, hearts. She seems constantly happy. She wants everyone else to be happy. Her goal seems to be to make everyone happy. Let's look at her guardian and beast. It is a well, we don't know. Do we know its type? I don't know if we know its type, but the ability it's using is a mission. Tyson's guardian. Okay, it is an emitter. Tyson's guardian spirit beast is an emitter with a diffusion levy type ability. It takes the appearance of a heart shape with 4 small wings and a big eye at the center. From a sphincter-like opening at its bottom, it lays smaller Nen beasts about the size of a lizard with a large eye for a head and prehensile hands, and a tadpole-like tail. These eyewogs attach themselves to anyone who comes across Tyson's teaching, collecting aura from them and bestowing happiness in return. The degree of happiness received depends on how thoroughly one has read the book of Tyson. Should Tyson's teachings one and only taboo be broken, harsh punishment will be meted out. So, like I was saying, there's an obvious connection to celebration, happiness, in the same way that someone might be like in a happily drunken stupor. Tyson's ability keeps you like kind of in a happy stupor the more you read her book. I mean, I don't really have much to say about this. It's just like, it's pretty like what you get on the, I was like, Tyson wants to spread happiness. Her Nembi spreads happiness. There's an argument to be made about the morality of it. I mean, obviously she doesn't know what's happening. She's not controlling it, but there's an argument to be made about the morality of like an ability that forces you to be happy. But I mean, I don't know what this taboo is, and we don't know if this Nen beast itself has like any actual like combat ability. Like, does the punishment make the person fight for you? Does it just kill them or hurt them and nothing else? Does it all does just send around make people happy kind of? It says it collects ore from them and bestows happiness in return. So it might be like charge. So it's possible it could be charging up for something, like it's some sort of like the it makes people happier and happier, and as it collects more and more nen, it can use that nen later for another ability, or maybe for the punishment, or to buff Tyson in some way. We'll have to see. Um, I mean, if it is sort of like a punishment, like if it doesn't really attack people directly, but it sends out punishments based on like if you break the taboo, I could see it as sort of being sort of like Solly Solars, where the goal is to spread it around as much as possible, and then if one of your enemies has it on them but doesn't realize it, and then tries to break it, and then attacks you or like breaks the taboo and it goes off, I could see it like that. So the idea is like maybe you put on all the princes like bodyguards and followers. Not that Tyson's planning any of this, but like maybe in an ideal situation with this Nen beast, you put a bunch of fairies and all of, like the bodyguards and followers, and then it starts gathering Nen, and then the bodyguards of the princess can't really do anything because if they try to attack Tyson or if they try to break the rule or whatever, they will be subject to whatever punishment Tyson's Nen beast wants to deal out. Um. Oh wait, we do have something. So according to the wiki on note 4, which is brought up, apparently it was brought up in chapter 375. I don't remember who says it. Her guardian Nen beast has been compared to a spirit bomb for its supposed power. So this to me implies that it is getting for something, right? So we know it's collecting Nen for some reason, and it gets happiness in return. So what I assume is it's spirit bomb in the sense that it probably releases an attack, sort of like the spirit bomb, in relation to people who want to like give some of their energy or their happiness to Tyson, and then Tyson's like, "Give me all your power," and then potentially she launches like a spirit bomb or something. So, and it is a emitter, so maybe it could easily just be like a really powerful blast. That would make sense. It's interesting. There's obviously an eye motif with Tyson, and both, well, there's an eye, and the heart motif is more obvious, but her Nen beast has a giant eye on it with wings. So, I mean, the wings are obviously angel wings or like birds, which represent often associated with happiness and like elation. But then you have a giant eye on it, and also all its little things have eyes on it, which could represent like the idea of like a sort of religious idea that like someone or something's watching you, making sure you follow like the rules of religion. Because Tyson obviously is one of those characters that has a really obvious cult theme with like how many people, with like her ability revolving around followers, how many followers you can get. I think it's a really obvious theme in this arc about like followers and like how much power you get from basically like your community or your followers, like which is portrayed like in a symbolic way. Like the more followers you have, the more loyal they are to you, the more quote unquote powerful you are because the more social power you have, and the more people are willing to die for you, which thus increases how much access to Nen you have. Let's see. Is that all I have for Tyson? Oh yeah, because Tyson's name is kind of like elation and stuff. I guess you could read the book of Tyson as like the book of high spirited, like the book of fires and passion, or like the book of um like energetic or energy or vibrancy, which again would make sense with her happiness theme. I think that's it for now, just because it's getting a little long. I mean, ideally, you listen to this while you're in the car or something. I know I put up like visuals, but I guess next time I'll cover Loserus, whatever he's doing. I'll see you guys later. Oh yeah, one more thing before I go. To Beppa, her den piece is a frog, and as we know, frogs are connected to like there are sometimes. I mean, they're connected to a lot of things, like different cultures. But one thing that frogs are often connected to is the idea of change, or metamorphosis, because frogs go from tadpoles to frogs, which are a pretty dramatic change, and it's pretty visible. And since our Nen beast is a transmuter that allows you to create new concoctions by changing the properties of your aura, presumably because that's what transmutation does, it could have like a conjuration ability or something. I think it's very interesting that the fact that there's clearly a connection both to science with Tubeppa's Nen beast and also to transformation and evolution and change, which is probably comes from like her scientific view of way of like looking at the world or how things operate. Yeah. Also has wheels, which I guess I mean there's like the saying the wheel of progress, but considering which normally might be a bit of a stretch, but considering Tubeppa's connection to science, I wouldn't be surprised if like the idea of the wheels like supposed to resemble like a more modern vehicle or like or the influence of like technology, albeit maybe simple because wheels are pretty one of the like the most basic inventions people have made, or like basic machines. I forget like the exact term for it. So there's that.